Alright then gang, so in this video you're going to learn some beginner's tips for Adobe Xd, which is what I use to create most of the web designs I use for my tutorials on this channel, and also what I use for my slides and presentations too. And to teach you the basics, I brought in Jeremy Miura, who's a really good designer and teacher. He's got his own YouTube channel with tons of videos about web design, UX design, branding, logo design, etc. So definitely check his channel out and subscribe to it. I'm going to leave the link down below. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Jeremy to get you started with Adobe Xd.
Hey, my name's Jeremy, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the basics of Adobe Xd. So I'm in Xd, and you can see I've got this artboard. I want to show you a few little tricks and tips on how to use the basic features of it. So first up, we've got our basic artboard. So to select our artboard, you click on the left text on the top left. I can double click this and say homepage, or I can call it design or whatever, press enter, and now I've got that text. I can also duplicate artboards by pressing Ctrl C and press Ctrl V, and it should paste it right next to our main artboard. So if you're doing multiple pages on a website, then you're gonna have your about page, your shop page, whatever, and it's gonna keep going across. I'm gonna press Ctrl Z to get rid of that. You can also press delete to delete the artboards as well. Amazing. If you wanna make a custom size, you can press A for the artboard tool. It's also located on the left hand side, and you can drag out different sizes. So if you want to do a mobile size, you can select it, or draw out a box, and then you can go to the top right corner and you can specify your width and your height as well. So maybe I want to go 1080 by 620 or something. You can see it's going to come out exact. So I'm just going to quickly click those and press delete. So our basic tools are all on the left hand side. To make shapes, you can see you've got ellipse, you've got rectangles, you've got triangles, even lines. So if I want to make a box, I can press R and drag out my square. I can also make an ellipse. You want to make sure that you hold shift to make sure that it scales it proportionally. You can also hold alt while you do it, and it's going to do it from the center. Instead of the corner, it's going to do it from the center, as you can see that. You can do that with all the shapes there. If I want to rotate something, you just press V for the selection tool, and you just put your mouse on the corner, and you can actually move it like this. You can hold shift so it locks in a 90-degree angle, as you can see, but that's super cool. You can also scale things down by selecting any of the white circles and moving it. Once again, you can hold shift to keep the proportions there as well. If you want to do a line, you can actually press L, or I'm just going to click on the left, and what you do is you click and you can drag a line like that, and that's how you do like a line if you want to make something cool and fresh. So what if you wanted to make a button? I'm gonna scroll down here, and you can see we've got a couple buttons here and a slider. So the cool thing about making a button, all you have to really do is just use shapes and text. So I'm gonna press R for the rectangle tool. I'm gonna drag out a box. All our styling tools are on the right hand side. So if I want to change the color of this, what I can actually do is go to fill, and instead of doing a solid color like this, purple color, maybe you can see that, maybe I want to do a gradient. So to do that, you want to click this little drop down menu that says solid color, go down to linear gradient, and all I have to do now is I can move these little widgets or these little circles along the gradient, as you can see, and I can add one. I can change the color of this one, so maybe I want to make it pink, and I'll just select the other side of it, and I want to select a different color. So maybe I'll make it yellow or something like that. Drag this up, get like a sunshine going, just like that. I think that's really cool. You can also plus it, and it should add any major color that you've selected. It will plus it into your color swatches. So I'm going to select the little circles, and once I do that, now I've got these colors in my color swatch. To get rid of the border, you can see it's got like a little checkbox next to the rectangle here. I can turn that off and on. I can turn my fill off as well. So once we're happy with that, I'm going to press T for the type tool and type in button, or you can type click me or whatever. I'm going to maybe change the font. I'm currently using Intel, which is a really sans serif, nice clean font. Maybe make it a little bit, maybe a bit bolder, semi-bold. I kind of like that. I'm just going to scale it up a little bit more, and I think that is beautiful. Now, a cool thing to change the state of this button, what I can actually do is select the shape, But first I'm going to select both of them and click Control G to group them. So now this is a group, as you can see if I select it together. And that's basically how you make a simple button. I'm going to go and show you how to make a slider now. So for a slider, what you have to do is once again make a rectangle. I'll get rid of the border. I'll change the color to maybe this purple. I'm going to zoom in here. Now to round up the corners, what you can actually do is go to the little white circle on the edges, and I can actually drag this in like that. And that's going to round up the corners. You can also round up the corners on the right hand side above the fill. You'll see these little icons. If you want to round maybe one side, you can select 0. So you can see maybe I just want to round the bottom, or if you want to do maybe one corner, you can do that as well. If you want to round the whole thing off, you can select the icon and you can specify a specific rounding. So maybe I want 20, maybe I want 10. It's all up to you. For me, I'm just going to do this and scale it like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle like this, and I want to snap it. So you can see my guides are automatically on. It snaps. Beautiful. I might make it a bit longer. So now how do I actually make this into a slider to make it work? So what you want to actually do is group these together. And I want to make something called a component. So go to the top right corner and click component. There's a little plus button. You want to click that. You can also do the shortcut Control K or Command K. And now what you see on the right hand side, you see the default state. This is basically the main state that the component is in without having any effects or any other state added to it. So once I go next to it, they'll see a little plus button and it says add state. So I'm going to click that and click on, I can do hover state or toggle state. For this one, I'm going to do toggle state. So now what I'm going to do, make sure I select the component. And now because we have a component, the outer box is actually green. So this means whatever changes we make to this component, if we have a copy of it somewhere else on the artboard, it's going to change that. So for example, if I duplicate this and I make changes to this one, let's say maybe orange, it's going to affect every other component on the in the document. Beautiful. So I'll go back. I'll just delete this. So now we want to go to the toggle state. And in this state, what I want to do is double click to make sure I select inside the group. I'm going to hold shift and move this to the other side. All right. I can make it exact. If I want, I can read the pixels, but for now, I'm going to leave it. So now what I want to do is go back to the component main, click default state. Now to actually test it, you want to go to the big preview plus button, play button on the top right corner. I'm going to click that. And then now if I try and zoom in, okay, it's not going to let me. All I have to do is click on the slider and you can see it's sliding through. Boom, amazing. I think that's really cool. You can also go to the toggle state and actually change the color. So maybe I want to like darken this. So I'll go back now, press plus, go back to the button, and you can see the slider there is working perfectly. Beautiful. I can also do the same to the buttons as well. So if I want to go to this button, I can add a hover state this time. So I'll click hover, and for this one, I might make the button like really dark. So instead of solid, I'll just go to solid color, make it all black. For the text, I still want to make the text maybe a bit darker like this. So now go to default state, go back to the play button, and then now if I go over the button, you can see that it has that darkened effect. Now, in order for us to see where our components are and any styles we've created, you want to go to the bottom left and click on your libraries. This is going to show you all your document assets, so your colors, your styles, and your components. So for example, I've got any colors here. So if I make a shape and I click on the colors as I did before, we can easily select that from our database there. If I've saved a certain style, so maybe I've got some text here and maybe I just want to quickly make something. It could be like body text. This is Jeremy Mura. What we can actually do is I can click this style and it's going to apply that style of that headline that I made before right when I click that button. So you got character styles. That's for any typography or font, headlines and body copy, anything you save there, right? If we have any buttons, so for example, we've got components. So I've got, a slider here. I've got a button here. you can just click and drag and drop it, right? So I can go ahead and edit this so I can, you know, make it maybe a solid color. I can make it green if I want. Make the text white. Obviously that's it's a bit hard to read because it's really sharp. So I'm gonna drop that. And you can see it's not affecting any other buttons on my page. And that's because this is an instance. If I go to the top right corner, it will show you that it says instance next to the component. That means it's not the main component. So if I want to edit all the buttons on the page, and if I have multiple of them, I go to right click and click edit main component, and it's going to locate that button on the page, as you can see here. So now if I have this and maybe I want to change the gradient, maybe I want to make it, let's say like blue or something, right? It's going to affect every other button with that component. So you can see this was a part of that button, and now it's affecting everything. So if I make multiple instances, for example, of the same button, so I'm just duplicating them, and I go back to the main button, and, you know, once again, change it, it's going to affect all the other buttons that we have. As you can see, it affected all the other buttons. And that's basically how you use components if you want to edit them and adjust them, and everything is in your assets. If you want to go to your layers, you can click on the icon under it, which is Control Y is the shortcut, or Command Y if you're on a Mac. And you've got all these layers, so I can select things and group them together. So all these buttons, you can see that they are components because they've got a diamond. Rectangles will have little, you know, shapes, and then the text will be T. If I press Control G, it's going to make a group. So it's called Group 8, but I can just say buttons. As you can see there, I can lock it, I can hide them. You know, I can mark for export. So if I don't want to export, I can press Shift E, and it's going to highlight the little icon. So it just helps you be a lot more cleaner. You can see all the layers are a mess. What if I wanted to do like sort of like a modal? To make this, all I really did is I might just scale this down a little bit. Is I made a rectangle. I went to the round corners and I rounded off just the top two corners. And then I dropped some text in. I changed the fill color, so I'm just going and making sure that it's like darker because you want that contrast. You want to make sure that everything is readable. Scale this down. I'll duplicate this by holding Alt Shift and dragging. I'm just gonna copy this text from the other one I already created. And what I did is I scaled it down to about 14. Maybe we'll go 12 points here. I'm gonna hold Shift and Enter. And I'm just gonna make this a little bit gray because we want that contrast. Okay, that's a bit too much. Let's go like that. Drop that down. And I'm also gonna make the style light like that. 15. So I made the spacing of the lines 15. The text is like a grayish color, and I made the point size at 12 and made it light. As you can see there, obviously, if I can, you know, make it a bit smaller and make it fit, that's fine for this example. But you want to make sure that your text is always readable. And then what I did is I made a couple rectangles like this. You can see it snapped there. You can also use the eyedropper tool. So I'll press I, and what I'll do is I'll press spacebar and actually click to move my artboard. And I'm going to select this color here, and you can see it duplicated that color. I can duplicate the shape holding Alt and Shift. Press I, select that color, and then I'm just going to quickly duplicate the text as well. I'll make the text, and then duplicate it like this. Beautiful. So now what we can do, we can also make, you know, these are components. You can make a hover state like I did before, and you can see what I've done here with these buttons here. I did the exact same thing that I did for the button, added like a hover state. And that's how you sort of make a module. I'm just going to center these. A good thing as well is you can see like I made the background gray. So I made the stroke a bit lighter, as you can see, just to visually like make sure that people can understand that like this is like a box together, that it's joined together, it's not floating, and just made the fill a little bit gray in there. The next cool tool that you need to know that Xd really has is nice is called the repeat grid. Imagine I have a nav bar. This is like one of my page names. What I can actually do is press Control or Command R. Once you do that, you're going to get a green box around it. You can also go to the top corner and you can see I've got the grid button here. It says Ungroup. I can click that and it's going to take this out of the grid. If I go back, it's going to say Repeat Grid. So I'm going to click that, and then all I have to do is drag this little bar and drag it across. And basically it duplicates everything for you. If I wanted to change the spacing, all I have to do is put my mouse over the white space and there'll be like a pink area, and I can actually adjust the padding there. Just like that, really easily. I can actually double click and go in here and like type as I want. I can always go back and, you know, change it, adjust it. I can do this as well. So if I want to add the line spacing, I can do that. And it also works with components, and if you add like icons as well. You can do it with this normal icon. So if I do it with this one, you can see I can get like these cool arrow effects. So maybe I want to make like a pattern or something. Then you can do that. And if you want to ungroup it, you just press Ctrl-Shift-G or turn the grid off, and then they turn into individual components that I can go in here and, you know, I can edit and do whatever I want. And that's basically how you use the repeat grid. It's great if you want to do like blogs, or if you've got images that are basically the same. Maybe you're showing like a team or something, or for a nav bar, which just repeats itself because you just need the same text and style. And that's how you use the repeat grid. So let's talk about grids lastly. I think that's another key point when designing in Xd. So you can see I've got some text here, and to turn on my grid, all you have to do is press Control and the comma button or apostrophe on your keyboard, and you get this grid in the background, as you can see there. If you want to edit the grids, what you have to do is go to the artboard and select it once again. I'm sure there's a shortcut key, but for now I don't know that one. And you'll see on the right hand side, you'll see it says grid. My source grid is set to 12. I can make it smaller. So maybe if I want to go 8, you can see it makes it smaller. If I want to go 14, you can see it makes it bigger. For this example, I'll go to 12, which is great. I can make my default. So once you click make default, it's going to make it your default grid for the rest of your document. And now I can use this as a baseline. So because I know that my grid is 12, and maybe I want to snap everything together so everything is like coherent and consistent, I can make sure that it's going to fit. So for example, this text, because double of 12 is 24, I can make the text 24 size. And what I can do is actually snap it, as you can see. And also my line height is 24 as well, right? So if I drop down my line height to like 15, whoops, you can see it's not going to snap to the grid, right? Because it's not a denomination of 12. So I can go back to the line height. I can make it 12. You can see it's going to fit, but obviously it's too much. So maybe I can double it, 24. Triple of 12 is 36. So I can do 36 as well. And that's going to snap to the grid as well. So you can see the typography is hitting the line, as you can see there. I can turn off the grid by pressing Control and the same button, the comma. And I like to make my body text usually light or regular. And then when I work with the headline, I usually make it double the size of my body copy. So my body copy is 24, and then this is like 49 right now. So I think that's fine. And we just have that contrast going on there. Now, what if you want to use the common web grid? You want to press Control Shift and apostrophe or comma on your keyboard. So this grid is a bit different. So I'm just going to select the page again. And you can see that it usually comes up like blue. You can make it bright or you can make it really light. Typically I go light. And you can actually edit the columns. So sometimes I usually work with 4 columns. You can even do 6 columns. You can do 12. You can do as many as you want, really. 24. But I think, 6 to 12 is usually a good amount for columns. You can also adjust the gutter width as well. So I can make the gutter width maybe 12 or, 20. And the cool thing is I can select text holding Shift, and I can snap it to those columns like that. So now I've got that really well. Obviously I can adjust things. Maybe I want to delete this. Maybe I want to snap that, and then maybe I want to like get creative or something. I can like snap things. It just depends how you want to go about it. You know, I can snap two things together like that. And you can use those grids as a guideline. And I feel like one more tip is you can see as my background's moving around, you can press Control L and you can create a lock. So you can see this little lock the background. So now when I'm playing around with my typography, it's not going to move in the back. But basically that's how you use grids. Obviously you can always turn them off, Control Shift and the comma button to get rid of that. So that's how you use Adobe XD, all the basics. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick tutorial and thanks for watching.